Welcome back to another episode of Behind the Burger. We're here just outside of Las Cruces, New Mexico, and I am here with Jim and Jay Hill. Guys, will you kind of introduce yourselves? Maybe, Jim, will you start?
Okay, I'm Jim Hill. Live here in Las Cruces, New Mexico. Been in the ag business all my life. Was on the beef council for a few years and enjoyed each and every day that we had, and it's fun to see what we're doing today. This is the step in the right direction.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. And that's kind of how the connection happened, right? Is Jim is a former board member with the Beef Council, and so we love to keep in touch because once you have good volunteers, you got to keep a hold of them a little. And Jay is your son.
Yes, get to grow up in the shadow of the great Jim Hill, and it's been probably the most exciting ride that any kid could ask for. Just being able to see how Dad came from such very humble beginnings, and has built and lost and built and rebuilt and been so diversified in such a short period of time. So it's just been a really fun opportunity just to hang out with Pops and get to live out the agricultural world day in and day out. I have farmed since first crop was at 14 years old, and been in the ag business. We've both farmed and ranched for the last, now this is my 29th crop, something like that, 28th crop. And so as these things all have come together, just to be able to do that alongside with family has been amazing.
Oh, absolutely. I think that's the really special thing. This, family business or family generational thing, watching, farm and ranch. Tell us about kind of, Jim, start with your background and kind of how you got into it, or how you started, and then the operations that you have had and that you currently have.
Yeah. Well, I grew up in eastern Tennessee, and I grew up on a farm, but mainly we grew tobacco. Okay, so we had all those good things that we started out with, and I came here and went to school. I was a school called Texas Western, okay, and graduated from a school called UTEP, which is the same school. And was fortunate enough to know a banker and bought a little farm in Vado, New Mexico. And we turned that in, sold it in a few years, and bought a bigger one and continued to grow and just diversified. We had a chance to buy a ranch, and we bought the ranch and kept it for many years. A guy from California came in and wanted to know if we would sell a ranch, and the statement back to him was, no, it's all paid for. The cattle are ours. We're not paying. Just a few days before the end of the year, he said, will you sell your ranch? And so that's a whole different ball game. And so we did. We sold a ranch, but we stayed in the feeding business. We feed for custom, that we produce beef for a bunch of friends and neighbors and stuff that buys finished beef from us. Mm-hmm. So we've been in it, but we still are in the farming. We're in the alfalfa grain. We've grown a lot of cotton, so we've been blessed to stay in the ag business.
Oh yeah, and if you're feeding cattle, you need a lot of farming or farming friends.
You do.
Yeah. Well, that's great. And Jay, tell us about kind of what your connection to the industry too, because you aren't always on the farm necessarily, but you're helping others and helping others build their farms, right? Is what I understand.
It's an evolution of agriculture, really. I went to work when I was 15. I went to work for a produce company, and my job was to load onion trucks at night. So my shift started at 5:45 in the evening, and I'd get home at about 9 o'clock in the morning. In those days, Dad was still deriving income from outside sources of agriculture, and so anytime I could pick up a gig cutting hay or baling hay or doing whatever I could do, I just was really cultivated, pun intended, by agriculture. And in so doing so, we formed different partnerships, and it sent me to different parts of the state to do, to learn kind of the hard way of how to large scale farm. And in doing so, it opened a lot of opportunities. So got our start, or at least I got my start in produce, onions, chili, lettuce, cabbage. And then at the same time, we were still running, we had the ranch, and then we were feeding cows too. And so it was a lot of fun to do that. And then as college drug on, a couple different times I attended an institution. And I met a lot of great people, and I'm glad I was there when I was there, because some of my best friends were met in college, a lot in the beef industry. It's been a lot of fun to see all of our evolutions go. Had an opportunity at one point, we started growing a lot of seed crops, so carrots, and seedless watermelon has to have seed. So understanding how to grow seedless watermelon seed, and that kind of morphed itself into curing seeds and things like that. And then we got an opportunity. I got an opportunity to partner up with a person, and we took over an operation in West Texas for a municipality, and started off with about 3,500 acres, and in 5.5 years turned it into a little over 21,000 acres of production, alfalfa, corn, cotton, silage, and then we had 2 feedlots at the max, feeding 400 head in one, and the other one we rotated anywhere between 15 and 2,000 head in. And so that kind of brought me back into the beef side of things. I'd been mostly in the farm side. And in 22, we had the option to pull the ripcord. And so we pulled it, and didn't know, I've got a wife and 2 sweet kiddos, and we didn't know really what direction we wanted to go. And we ended up coming back into Las Cruces. We're close to mom and dad. Dad said, why don't you come back, and be close. So we did that, and I got into commercial real estate and connections, just knowing people, and the next thing you know, it becomes a career. It was supposed to be something that was passive income, and it's been a lot of fun now. Understanding, I wish I would have known now. I would have started this a lot earlier. Understanding diversification in agriculture. Beef market's high right now. So what are you going to do? Are you going to buy another ranch, or are you going to diversify that into passive income where it's going to come out of commercial space? Are you going to buy a farm? Or what are those? And this is things that I've been really blessed to be able to be along for this ride, to understand these different transitions. Our family transitions to, I've got a brother that works for us in Del City who still runs a large farm that we have over there. And just understanding how we transition this together has been a lot of fun.
Oh, absolutely. That sounds really interesting. And I think the changes and the, evolution of agriculture, of where you're, trying to diversify. And I think, what did they used to say in the Midwest when they had smaller operations, you'd grow corn and then you'd walk the corn off the farm, right? You'd have cattle just to walk the corn off. Mm-hmm. Well, now they don't have to do that because they have all these, co-ops and local mills and all that. But then now the change back, right, is as life cycles, is that maybe it is okay to diversify again and still grow. It is a good way to grow, especially because the cattle market surely won't be high forever. No,
and I think that's something that, we got to enjoy a cotton market at, for upland cotton at over $1.25, and everybody's like, man, we finally have arrived to a price point where it makes sense to grow cotton. And I sold cotton this year at 64 cents. That's 2 years later. And so understanding that there's these ebb and flows in agriculture, and then diversification of what your portfolio looks like. Even if you're in if you're a 6th generation family farmer or rancher, the opportunities for you to sit and do the same thing day in, day out, you can do that. But what is that going to do when you have these big swings? And so we've learned the good way and the bad way in that.
Yeah.
One of the big things, we've done a lot of business with the Bankers Bank out of Oklahoma, and when that gentleman comes down, we'll really become good friends. And he's always asking the same question over and over. Hey, Jim, when are you going to write a book? Jim, how are you coming on your book? And I'll tell him, Frank, I'm not in the writing contest, okay? And he says, Jim, you started farming with mules and horses. Yeah, I know G&N Hall. I know all those kind of things. And he says, now I'll watch you get in and out of the GPS tractors and stuff like this that I can't hardly see you when you're up there. You have a story to tell. I just think I've been blessed, and I'm so excited, and my whole family is, that we're going to be able to continue this as we leave. We have 2 sons that's really involved in it, and our whole family is really, really involved in what we do and how we do it.
I that's absolutely the ultimate goal, I think, for a lot of us, is if you can find something that your kids can do and you have this generational practice. And it's really the main reason for starting the podcast, right? Is we think that if you're buying your beef at the grocery store, you don't get to hear this story. And we think that the story is important, and it's also really neat because, obviously the human side of life is the most interesting part of life, but the human side of where our food comes from is so neat. There's not a lot of industries where businesses can last generations and through the technology and changes of as you say, from mules to now GPS tractors that might turn around for you.
It's wild too to understand technology is not always a solution, right? Everybody thinks that as things are progressing, I stood toe to toe with a lot of large companies, spoke on behalf and against some, on genetically modified crops, and we could go a myriad of different ways and talk about the evolution of all those kind of things, but understanding. What are we leaving for the generation behind us? We're out at the Corlitas Ranch right now. We're getting to do an opportunity that we're helping the Fosters as they're rehabilitating some of their farm ground, and they're really working on a regenerative practice. And I think a lot of us in agriculture look at that and we roll our eyes in the back of our head and we're like, oh, it's just a slang term for somebody to be able to coin in on green dollars. But when you are a part of something and you see the change in a herd and how you can go back to some of the basics that where he was working with a team of Mules, G and Ha, there's like fundamental building blocks to us being good stewards of what we do every single day that we have to revert back to. And I think in a technologically advanced world where we've got social media telling us what we're doing wrong every single day, and we're trying to evaluate ourselves against somebody else that's just showing you the best side of what they do. It's nice to be able to have the chain to go back to talk to Dad, to go back to talk to the Fosters and say, well, they do it this way, and what if we meet in the middle and try it this way? And it's not necessarily just having to be the biggest, fastest, and best. It's what the kids at the end of the day are going to be able to inherit and go on with.
Oh yeah, what an incredible thing, and I always am in awe of the ability to pass generations and to learn and to try and then we love to tell people too is that it's what's good for the land is good for the livestock, and what's good for the livestock is often good for the land. And so obviously there's regenerative, there's sustainable, there's all these the buzzwords, right? But it's all about a economic sustainability to pass a business generations.
Yeah, and honestly too, it's cash flow is something that always people let's talk about the cash flow, and that you want to get into ranching, you want to buy a place someday, you want to pass this to your children, all of those kind of things that so many people say, well, the economics of agriculture are not approachable. Like unless you inherit into it, you can't get into it. And I think that's a huge lie that people don't understand. Starting small and building something, like when I started farming in the beginning, it was 10 acres. And then when the ripcord got pulled, it was 21,000 acres. And to say that, and that's not just me, the good Lord smiled on us the entire way. And there was a lot of pain, a lot of bad partnerships, a lot of the stumbling over, not understanding. We made some huge mistakes. Others made huge mistakes. But to encourage people to say that they can be a part of this entire ecosystem of agriculture by starting with just saying, I have a dream. Like I want my own spot. I want a spot for my kids to be feral and run around and, understand that Legos are not the same as goat heads. They both hurt when you step on them, but yeah.
True.
So it's one of those things that ag is approachable still, even with this market. That's even on the commercial real estate side of things. Like I look at it and people are like, well, I can't believe you just can't make a ranch work for this number. I'm like, how bad do you want it? And there are very creative ways to get people into a dream.
Oh, I think that's the most encouraging thing and such an inspirational message. And there's sacrifice involved, there's learning involved, there's probably a lot of humility involved, but to encourage people to be first generation ranchers or farmers, absolutely. And you're not saying it's not going to be without its sacrifice and without its hills and valleys. But I love that. What a great thing. Well, one of the things we like to talk about too is New Mexico's unique landscapes. How has that kind of impacted how your businesses have changed, and how maybe specifically with cattle, what that was like, or what you've learned from that?
Well, I think the big thing that happens is that so much of it is not in our control. We just have to be able to manage what we have at the time we have it. We're thankful when we get the moisture, we get the rains and stuff, we're on top of the world. But then we have to be able to manage it when we don't. Okay, how do we control what we keep and what we don't keep? I want to add just one other little thing to it. As Jay was talking, it has been a bumpy ride, but I think anything that you do has bumps in it. And the reason I say that is because you begin to get the bumps out. And now, by the time where we are today, the bumps are very small, and the fun part of it, of being able to see, as you mentioned, being able to see it pass on and go on and know that it's in good hands. And my advice is, if you have a dream, or if you have something you really want to do it. It's not all about money, okay? I mean, it's really not. If you work hard enough and you pay attention to what you do, you can do anything you want to do. I mean, it's a neat deal when you have your family involved and you're doing something you really truly enjoy doing. I'm 85-year-old and still enjoy each and every day.
That's again, I get goosebumps thinking about it, and I think it's inspirational. And then what's the saying that I'm sure my grandpa or uncle or dad has told me is anything worth doing is hard, right? Or
if it was easy, everybody would do it.
Yeah, all the things.
That, Jimmy?
Yeah.
I hear that every day. Your question about climatic changes. We're in southern New Mexico. And I have never not been, since I started in ag, I've never not had a drought year. We've had a great fall, our start to fall, and things look good. But diversification of what you're doing, and that's, the Fosters out here at Corlitas Ranch, they're bringing, they do have the asset of water. And so, our project with them is to get them to a spot that they're drought resistant. So finding, we could go in and commercially farm this. We could grow chili and cotton and corn and do all those kind of things. We wanted to do that and diversify. But their heart and their mission is in their cows and being able to sustain this ranch. And so coming on board to help them, our mission is to make sure that we set the farm side of their ranch up so that way when it stops raining again, because it'll stop raining again, that they've got a rotational grazing program that they can put their flagship herd on. And have something that where everybody else has been selling off, these guys can hedge that. So that's been a lot of fun, understanding those kind of practices. And then the economics of it. How much money are you willing to spend to drought hedge yourself? Insurance has obviously been a huge part of the whole, hedging these droughts. And it's been a great thing. It saved a lot of us in this industry. At the same time, cheap is relatively inexpensive at the moment. We sell a lot of feed. We sell, oats and hay and Sudan sorghum and all these different crops. And you can tell the ranchers that are thinking ahead of it because they're the ones that are going to have the barn and they're going to buy the feed when it's inexpensive instead of going and buying a new pickup because you still get the same tax write-off. And so you see some of those practices implemented. And for us, it's the same thing. It's when we have a really good year, just brace yourself because following up for those good years, we're going to have some bumps.
Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Dion's took the best parts of a green chili bacon cheeseburger and made them a pizza. Savory beef, hatch green chili, crispy bacon, and melty cheese, all on a handcrafted crust. It's bold, it's beefy, it's a pizza worth sharing. Try it today at any Dion's location.
No doubt. And that resilience of a rancher or farmer is a really admirable trait. And even my favorite thing to say is as a agriculturalist, you have to be so many things. You have to know weather patterns. So you've got to have a little bit of meteorology in you. You've got to know the economics, and sometimes you're an economist or a market analyst, and then also a businessman, and then also you got to know dirt. You got to be a soil scientist, and you got to be. So it just keeps going. All of the things that it requires.
Then you got to be able to be your own shrink.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's
you don't have time to go to town for that.
Don't talk about, but the mental strain of how these operations work day in and day out. It's huge. And now we live in a comparison world again with like the whole social media scene. And, I was all over. So I was influencing and talking all over the world, literally, about agriculture. And it catches up to a point where you look into the mirror and you're like, I'm telling everybody how they can live their lives to be better, but inside you're not okay. And it's the comparison, right? You know, if it rained on my side today, what's the neighbor thinking? Or if it rained on the neighbor's side, what are they thinking? Instead of just meeting and having a cup of coffee and talking about, man, we were blessed last night. We got 2 inches of rain. And so trying to build a business in agriculture or sustain a business or a family and multi-generation operation is great, but at the same time, doing so in a way that is right for you and your family and not comparative, I think is, you know, learn from somebody, obviously, like that's the best thing you can do, but at the same time, comparing yourself to that person, that's why a lot of people, I don't think, step off of the, I want to own the ranch and work for the ranch, or they just have the dream and never do it because they sit there and they say, well, this guy's he just bought a new skid steer and he can feed in the snow, or he can, you know, whatever it is. And it's like, stop worrying about that. Just figure out how you make your payments and build your own. You'll have your own problems. So
absolutely. That's, I for some reason am I don't want to say training a horse, but I have a young horse. He went to a trainer and now I'm, you know, going through the next step. But very much not a horse trainer, but I have a young horse and I send my cousin videos for advice because she's a very excellent horsewoman. And I said, you know, I feel bad. My horse isn't as far along as everybody else is. And she's, no. So it's a life lesson in anything we're doing. If we can just think about what we're doing. And yes, it would be great if we had their resources or if we had their time or if we had their rain or whatever it is. But yeah, not to get too much into life lessons, but I think, it's a great thing if we can just try and remember that it's our path and our plan.
And it's fundamental to building anything.
Yes.
A relationship, a farm, a ranch, whatever it's going to be. It's just being able to sit in what you can do.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that. I think, so we kind of talked about the land, but maybe talk about, and maybe, do you guys have cattle right now?
We do. We have some that we're feeding. Yes.
Okay. That's what I thought you said. Okay. Just talk about cattle care and the efforts to keep cattle comfortable.
Okay.
Yeah, it's this is the best place to have that conversation. I mean, and you should ask the Fosters the same thing because they understand the feedlot business well too, and the ranch side. But one thing, keeping cattle comfortable in southern New Mexico through these drought cycles is something that has been a definite task for us. And one thing that we've seen is recycling of products from feed yards that are no longer here, or dairy yards, in some certain degree, to give just random shade. And I think the biggest thing that we worry about here is heat stroke and ticks. And people don't think about like the fact that when you're putting cattle into a confined space, even in the desert, we still have tick issues. And so those are the kind of things like parasites, ticks, and heat. Those are things that we have to pay attention. You know, we feed our cows out. We've got a small pen at my house that's just kind of the family Christmas beef. And you'd think that it'd be great because I live in the middle of a pecan orchard and their pens are right up against these pecan trees. And so you think, well, shoot, that'd be a perfect spot for something to want to hang out at. But unfortunately, there's no air movement and it's stagnant. And so in the summertime, like being able to get shade and be able to get some kind of airflow into those animals. And we learned it the hard way. Like we just weren't able to put the muscle and the fat on, earlier lots through that small pen. But this is something I'm like, you think about that on a ranch side, it's the same thing. Like if they're not getting ample shade, ample airflow, and you're talking to ranchers that are used to, we use mesquites to be able to bed cows down. At the same time, anything that you can do to give them an easier life, if they're not having to go quite as far for water, if you're able to keep their teeth up, you can keep a younger herd, especially into these droughts, it's gonna definitely pay dividends.
Absolutely. Did you want to add to that?
No, it's been real neat that I've turned most of this over where Jay makes a lot of the decisions. I still have a few comments that I'll make at him. No, but that's true.
He still carries a wampum stick.
We love it. So, what do you think? What would you tell people if, to someone's, we're ordering a cheeseburger, we're ordering a steak, or we're, at the grocery store, you don't know anything about where their beef comes from. What's something that you want them to know? What do you hope they know?
I think the big thing is the ranchers. When we talk about all the people that really grow the beef, everybody has a practice of making sure they grow the best that they can grow. Keep the chemicals, keep it out of them, okay? If you take care of them and feed them and control them right, they need very little. We have no vaccine program because we don't have sick cattle. Thank the good Lord on that. I don't think there's any country in the whole, any place we've been, has the beef that we have here, the quality of beef that we have, and it's safe.
And that's the American beef you're saying,
Yeah,
right?
it's American beef.
American beef. We have the safest food supply in the world, and good quality beef.
Yes, we do.
I think it's hard now, though, because we live in such a throwaway society. And so people are needing more, and they're needing it at a discount. And they're really not worried about what went into it. 7 years ago, totally different conversation. Everybody's wanting to know, like, is it stamped? Is it free range? Is it grass fed? Is it corn fed? Did it come out of a GMO feedlot? Did it, all of these things. And now beef prices get high, and people are like, I just need a hamburger. And so this is the time where producers have the opportunity to put their name in front of their marketing, because people are scrounging to be able to get, where's their meat coming from, or where can we get the biggest discount to it? And if we don't do a good job of staying in front of people like that, then eventually, we'll get run out by, another foreign set of packers, or we'll have foreign investment come in, or we'll see beef come across the border again at such a rapid rate that we lose as producers the opportunity to kind of showcase that we are the best at what we do. People that are out on the ranch, people that are out on the farm or in the feedlot, like those people, their stories need to be told, which is why, proud of the Beef Council and missions that you ladies always, seem to flagship for everybody. At the same time, being in the real estate world, there is so many generations that aren't coming home. And so as I'm putting more and more ranches and I'm selling more and more ranches, I'm not selling them to the neighbor. I'm not selling them to the cousin. I'm not selling them to it's either going into probate, or it's going in, and somebody that's got, a completely different lifestyle is coming in and buying that. Especially in New Mexico, they're using it for hunting, which is, it's their prerogative. But at the same time, this is an opportunity for these people to market themselves. And if you wanted to be in the beef business, this is the best time for you to partner up with somebody to say, hey, I want to run these cows on this property you're buying because you want to hunt elk or do whatever you want to do. But build your brand of beef based off of who you are. If you go to a big packer, and that's where, if you're going to a feedlot and, outside of Seminole or wherever you're going with your cows, great. But at the same time, follow that chain and make sure that your story is told. It doesn't necessarily have to be you, but make sure that somebody knows that package of beef is coming from your ranch. And that long term, and I think we'll see that. But long term, I think it's important that people make sure that their face is in front of what their product is.
I think one of the good things that's happened to us, New Mexico State, has really added the package where they can kill and process all of it. And so people can now go buy the beef they want and know exactly who processed it, how it was processed, and all that. That's a real plus.
Oh, yeah, that's a great facility, and we're really excited about that. I think, the New Mexico Beef Council, too, we have the local beef directory on our website where you can find someone in your county, and then even if it's a county over, they might deliver to your community. And if you choose that, I always like to clarify or say that if you're buying beef, the best way to support a rancher is buy beef. Order beef where you are, buy beef where you are. And if you want that story, there is a plethora of ranches, and hopefully more, like you're saying, that will sell it to you direct from their family business. And what a great, everybody loves to support a small business.
And there's a lot of private equity money that's already looking at partnering with family ranches to go, there'll be 10 or 15 family ranches that get put together in a quote unquote co-op.
Yep.
You'll see that meat, especially at different restaurants or grocery store chains. And those are things that, the devil's always in the fine print, but at the same time, I really think it's important for people to start looking at that diversification too. The same guy that's buying cattle, that's bought cattle off of your ranch for the last 40 years, at some point he's going to retire. And then when you're going to have to go find a new buyer, where does that trust come in at? And so I think it's one of those things that if you can have your pinky in that situation all the way through, you're going to be better off down the road.
Oh, absolutely. We love that. I think that's a great thing. And there's, like you said, there's private equity, but then there's also, so the Beef Council, we try and help family businesses and share them on Facebook and that kind of thing. And then we have our local beef directory. And then the New Mexico Department of Agriculture has their Taste of Tradition and Grown with Tradition programs, where they'll help you with advertising for New Mexico products and help you with labeling. And that's all agriculture products. So there's resources out there if you decide to go direct.
Use them. Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, if they're going to have that available, use it.
What's your favorite part of the beef industry? Maybe we can, generalize all agriculture, but even specifically the beef industry.
I guess the most enjoyable is just driving up and seeing healthy animals. They're not running away. They're excited we're coming up to see what. It's just relaxing. I like the cows. I like the steers that we're feeding. Well, it's just, it's relaxing. I get to see that over and over and over.
I like the people.
Yeah.
I'm a people person anyways, but at the same time, like pulling up to, a college roommate's ranch or coming out here to the Corlitas or, anywhere we go, it's very rarely do I run into somebody in the beef industry that I'm like, man, I would not want to break bread with that person. Like I want to be around more of those kind of people. And as they're few and far between, it's things that I enjoy more and more. The older I get, just those connections are huge. The people of the beef industry are amazing.
Absolutely. I think, I'm lucky to be a part of the New Mexico beef industry because of the people and the friends like you guys and the people I meet that suddenly I'm like, no, we're friends now because this is cool. You guys are great people. Let's continue this because I just, I think that's being around good people is the best. I've got a great team that we get to work with at the Beef Council and just those salt of the earth, wonderful people that you just want to be around, right? I just keep making people hang out with me.
That's good. Keep doing it.
So why do you guys continue? So you've whether it's, through the generations and through the, trials and droughts and mud, luckily right now, what makes you keep doing what you do?
Well, I think it's a couple things that really has an effect and that we do continue. One thing is I want to just say to the Corlitas, to Ross and them, this is one reason that we do it. We get a chance to come and help and see a company that's doing better, improving. How do they raise more and better beef? We get a charge out of that to see people take and have interest in changing for the best. And we do too. I mean, even at the age that we are now, we're still looking to grow. We're still looking to do it right. Just do the right things. So,
yeah, I think age has a lot to do with ambition too. The older I get, ambition still sits, but at the same time, it's like, how do we truly eat the elephant now? Like, how do we eat the steak? And it's one bite at a time. If you're trying to explode and grow and do all of these kind of things, then you have to have the bandwidth to do so. So something has to give on the other end of that, and understanding that everything has, it's a scale. And so how you balance that scale out is going to be extremely important. For me, it's just been opportunities to grow with people that I want to be around. I want to associate myself with people that hopefully someday, 100 years from now, they're having a beer on this bar, and they're sitting back and saying, and those guys are outlaws, but they did a good job and they left this place in such a way that, or my kids can look back and say, man, we were part of something that actually changed the future of New Mexico beef and New Mexico agriculture. And that's all we can hope for.
Absolutely. Was there, before I ask my last and what's maybe my favorite question, is there anything else you guys would like to add? Maybe as we warned you, we might make you do a podcast. You thought, I want to make sure and say that, or anything else?
Well, I think the big thing I want to say is that the help and all that has been given to us. I think my wife gets the credit. She has really been a trooper to stay with us and the kids and go through the changes that we've made.
Grammy's tough.
Grammy is a special lady.
Oh man, it takes good family for that family business, right?
Yeah. And also I'll say this much too. I mean, there's very practical ways to set your family business up for if people are going to stay in the business. And those conversations, if I could give, I'm not going to say I'm an advice giver, but if I can say anything, this is what you need to listen to. Set yourself up for the inevitable. You know, people are going to pass. The people that you are near and dear to they're going to run something out of town. They're going to go broke. They're going to win the lottery and move to Florida. They're going to pass away. Those things. But families need to sit around a table more, and they need to have a true plan of what their business needs to look like. And they need to understand what does their generational rotation look like for us too. And it's something that we didn't do right off the bat. I've been blessed that Dad's decided to stay on this planet. The good Lord's kept him on this planet this long. But at the same time, it's one of those things where there's practical steps to making sure that agriculture stays agriculture. And, you know, I'm in the process of selling different pieces of ground that are transitioning away from agriculture, and there's some that are transitioning back into agriculture. And watching the families that have their stuff set up for those kind of pivotal changes is extremely important. So have the hard conversation, look at your family members in the eyes and ask them what they want. Not everybody's going to win. And at the same time, it's okay to not always win.
Yeah, absolutely.
Sorry to be a Debbie Downer. That sounded
No. I think it's really important. I think there's things that sometimes, especially maybe in ranching or agriculture, is maybe we're too tough or too cowboy or too whatever to talk about, and things like succession planning and things like mental health and all of those things are really important conversations that we should have, and we should be okay with talking about it.
But it's changing.
Yes,
we're getting there. And I'm not saying that as a hipster wearing, Air Jordans on the ranch today. Like, I'm saying that as a person that I'm not wearing Air Jordans.
Let's go check his boots.
But at the same time, I am saying that there is people that are willing to talk more about kind of what's going on because our society has changed, and we have to be able to change with society. Doesn't mean you have to change your values and your standards.
So unless you guys had something else you want to talk about, I just want to ask you, what is your favorite way to eat beef?
A ribeye, medium rare, and maybe charred just a dab.
Great. We like that. Any specific sides you gotta have?
No, whatever the butcher cuts.
Yeah. Okay.
We go to old fashioned. I plug it thing. We go to old fashioned meat, and he does an unbelievable job.
Okay. Very cool.
Yeah. Just a great ribeye. I'm sure you hear that every single day. I'm going to put a red enchilada on it, and I'm going to put an egg and some sour cream and an onion. And I'm not going to let the sour cream touch the meat, though. I'm going to be really specific about that.
Absolutely. We're not, yeah.
Yeah. So I'm going to go more to the rare side, though. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
There you go. We love a good steak. Yeah, it has been a common answer to say that we love steak, but there's been some interesting ones in there. So we had a taco eater. Yeah, a taco and a green chili stew. So it's and I think I sometimes ask the question to a favorite recipe, and then we can put the recipe on the website too. So we do have a steak grilled recipe on there.
There's a person that we're at his ranch right now doing this podcast, and he turned me on to some pepper the other day that absolutely blew my mind. So you'll have to ask Ross Foster about what pepper to put on your steak, because I'm a salt and pepper and be done with it. Maybe a stick of butter, but
gotta support the dairy industry. It's only natural. It's only the kind thing to do in New Mexico.
It's natural moisturizer. That's how we beat wrinkles, is what I tell my wife. She said, no, that's how your heart stops at some point, but whatever. But yeah, so black pepper, I don't remember what it's called, but it's fantastic.
Very fun. Well, thank you guys so much for being a part of the agriculture industry, the beef industry. Thank you for your years of service on the Beef Council, and thank you guys for saying yes to a podcast.
Thank you, and thanks for coming to the ranch. Thanks getting out of Albuquerque.
Oh man, I'd be on a ranch every day if there weren't for other parts of the job. But I need to be at more. And if you're a rancher listening and you're willing, I've got tires and I'll wear them out, because the more I'm on a ranch, the more I understand how to do my job better.
Thanks. Thank you.
Behind the Burger is a podcast produced by the New Mexico Beef Council with the goal of telling the stories of the cattlemen and cattlewomen of the New Mexico beef industry. Thank you for joining us for today's episode. If you would like more information, please visit nmbeef.com. Whether it be a burger, a steak, or another beef dish, we hope you are enjoying beef at your next meal.